and welcome back to A Chapter a Day.
Keeps the devil away.
We're talking Mark chapter 5. I'm Pastor Pleck, along with Pastor Holland, and we're going to outline it. We're going to find some truths about the nature of man and the character of God, and finally put it to some application so that your day goes great today as you keep the devil away. So first off, Mark 5, 1 through 20, we have the story of the Gerasene demoniac. Crazy story of Jesus casting out the demon with a Hulk-like figure. Then you've got the woman with the issue of blood. And she's going to be coming up, and she is intermingled in with the raising of Jairus' daughter. But she comes up as this huge story of Jairus coming up, says, hey, heal my daughter. But in the middle of that, this woman with bleeding comes and asks for help, and Jesus heals her. Finally, after that, Jairus' daughter is healed after she is pronounced dead. And that's 35 through 43. So let's talk about some observations we've made about this text there, Holland, about the incredible work of Jesus.
These are awesome stories. And I think one of the most interesting things here is when the woman touches Jesus's garment. And it says in verse 30, he perceived in himself that power had gone out from him. I'm like, that is so cool. Like she touched his garment and power kind of just flowed out from Jesus to her. What do you make of that?
Yeah.
This wasn't Jesus seeking someone and saying, be healed. This was her grabbing his garment. I don't know. That's an observation that's
like some stolen power. I don't know. That's wild, right? I think it's a really powerful story that her faith was so great. Now, obviously, Jesus knew she was coming. Obviously, Jesus knew all of that. But it's incredible to see her boldness to go and receive.
Well, and she was unclean, right? Because she had this discharge of blood. And typically an unclean person, if you touch someone who's clean, you make them unclean.
But Jesus is the reverse.
Yeah, she touched him, and instead of Jesus becoming unclean, impossible, he's the Lord, his power goes to, his cleanness cleanses her.
So here's a wild thing. In the Old Testament, there is, I think, only one thing that if you touch it, all the things that touch it become clean. And so I think that is it the altar where they burn the sacrifices, or is it the altar or the ark?
Where you touch it and you become clean?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be, essentially Jesus would be the reality, the substance of that, which was a shadow.
Right. It would be exactly. So I think in, and it wasn't like a person usually. It was like the bronze instruments or the whatever that touched the whatever was, whatever you're using to do the service. If it had been unclean at some point and it touched the altar, it became clean because it came in contact with something that was that holy. So that, I think that's, I wish I could find that now. It makes me feel bad that I'm not pulling it up.
Some homework to the listeners. Figure out what that is.
Yeah. What was that? Let me see.
Whatever it is, basically Jesus is like the true and better version of that, not just ceremonially making something clean, but actually giving a true healing to her.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. What else did you like?
Okay. So I also noticed with the demon-possessed guy.
Yeah.
When he saves that guy, delivers him from the demons, he says, go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you. And he goes away and begins to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus. So you go tell everybody. But then when he heals the little girl, it says in the final verse, he strictly charged them that no one should know this and told them to give her something to eat.
Okay.
So what's your thoughts? Why the difference? Why demoniac tell everyone, and why, the little girl don't tell anyone?
Yeah, I think it was, I think where it was with Jesus, there was no theological thing limiting the, here's what I mean, the theological box that the Jews were in to receive the Messiah. He had to come with some certain prerequisites that everyone sort of wrapped their head around. And I don't think that he had felt that he had presented himself in a way that was ready for a Messiah. That's the only thing I can think of. Whereas with the Gentiles, there is no, it's just the kingdom of God's here. We've never seen anything like this. They were used to just the brokenness of the world.
Yeah, so the difference being verse 1, they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gerasenes. So now he's crossed the sea over into Gentile territory.
Right.
Among the Gentiles, he says, go tell everybody.
Yeah.
And then verse 21, when Jesus crossed again in the boat to the other side, so now he's back in Jewish territory, he says, don't tell anyone. And so this is Gentiles, hey, go tell everybody, what God has done for you.
And to be fair, the Gentiles and the Jews don't mix.
Right.
So it's not like he's also, like, there's a prescribed timeline for Jesus to be crucified, and I think that might have had something with his name getting out too fast, too quickly. Would have, right, that would have been problematic.
So among the Jewish people who had messianic expectations and questions and things like that, he's kept a low profile. Don't tell anybody. But among the Gentiles, hey, go tell everybody.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
And I think people thought that either Jesus was being cryptic or unfair to keep it to yourself. I've heard those frustrations, but I do think it's primarily because of who he was trying to reach and what he's trying to specifically do within Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about
nature of man.
Yeah. Or what about why? How about this? Why do you think Jesus allowed the demons to enter the pigs? Like, what did that do for them?
What did it do for the demons?
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to be like pretty stoked about that, right?
Right.
They begged him, saying, "Send us to the pigs."
But once the pigs die, don't they have to find another spot? I don't know how that works in demonology. Once the pig dies, doesn't it? There's like given like another little. Maybe I just saw that one movie with Denzel Washington.
They've got to find a new host somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think demons need a host, right?
I don't know. Yeah.
And so demons can enter into, like it talks about Satan entering into Judas, right? Later on in the gospel.
Talk about wild.
So demons can possess people, but don't have to. And so,
yeah, I was curious. I kind of went to the old, that Denzel, I can't remember what that movie was, but
I don't even know. Was it like the biblical fiction type?
No,
like
it was a crime movie that, this guy who was possessed by a demon murdered people, and then he, the only way to get rid of the guy was to have him poison or die out there. And so Denzel ends up killing him.
More homework for the listener. Yeah. Find out what movie that was. Yeah, I don't know. But, Jesus, it doesn't really say why. Just Jesus gave him permission. It does call them unclean spirits. We do know that pigs were ceremonially unclean animals. So there's a lot of uncleanness going on in this chapter.
Yeah.
And you see the unclean spirits entering the unclean pigs and taking them away to death. So it could be kind of a parable for, uncleanness leading to death. And then, juxtaposed with this unclean woman who touches Jesus and experiences life and healing.
Yeah.
So you do get a little bit of a juxtaposition there of here's what happens if uncleanness goes to its ultimate end, and here's what happens if uncleanness meets Jesus.
Right.
Which is pretty awesome.
Speaking of uncleanness.
Yeah.
So have you ever heard of the water purification, ashes of the red heifer?
Yes.
So if you came in contact with something dead, the only way to get clean was to be have like this water that had ashes of a red heifer, a type of cow,
right,
sprinkled on you or poured on you,
yeah.
And then all the objects that were touched by that would become clean. So and that was a special purification that somebody touched something dead. In the same way, Jesus is life. That bleeding was going to kill that woman.
Yeah,
and she touches Jesus, and by her touching him, that curse of death is broken and she is given life. So anyway, I think there's all these Old Testament references that I always sort of get excited about, because very rarely is there anything that if you touched it made you clean if you were unclean, and Jesus is that.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. How about some truths about the nature of man? Man is vulnerable.
Yeah.
Oppression, fear, like the people in the Gerasenes were like, they were afraid after the guy's been delivered. So afraid, they tell him to leave. Wild.
Yeah. And yeah, you see the nature of man as a sinner, as an unclean person. You see that, death is in our nature now as sinful people, that we die. The uncleanness, the spiritual sickness, of the demons go into the pigs, lead them to death. They drown. The woman's, ceremonially unclean discharge of blood also would have led to physical death.
Mhm.
And you see the little girl whose disease led her to death. You see all this spiritual, physical, and ceremonial sickness and uncleanness leading to death. And then in the midst of it, you see Jesus setting people free, healing, and giving life.
Okay, what about this?
Pretty awesome.
The people laugh at Jesus.
Yeah.
When he says the girl's not dead but only sleeping, and they laugh at him. Sometimes I'm like, are they laughing at death? Are they laughing at Jesus? Or is it a nervous laughter because it's too incredible? What is that? What is that laughter? And just about men is like, when we don't know what to do with it, we have some sort of emotional reaction of fear. We scoff at it, laugh at it, because we don't know what to do with it. There's a category that doesn't fit for us, and Jesus is that category for many people.
Yeah.
What about the character of God?
He's a deliverer, a healer, a savior, a resurrector of life. You see all of that in these couple of stories.
Yeah. How about he has authority over the spiritual and the physical?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love this one. How about Jesus responds to personal faith?
That's good.
No matter how hidden or how desperate. How about some application? So there's, sin to avoid, a promise to claim, example to follow, a command to obey, or knowledge to believe. Which one would you pick out here for one of our listeners?
Man, knowledge to believe. Jesus can heal. Jesus can save. What you brought up, he has authority over the spiritual and over the physical. That's some knowledge to believe and apply faithfully to the way that you pray.
Yeah. One of the things I loved here, for an example to follow, the man just wanted to be with Jesus.
Yeah.
The healed one. And then Jesus is like, nah, go.
And that's an example to follow.
Yeah.
He
Go
says,
and tell.
Go tell.
Yeah.
And he does. He went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him.
So he obeyed. I think that's a great example to follow. And it's one of like, when your one hope is that you get to be with Jesus, and Jesus is like, nope, I still have work for you to do in your hometown.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on A Chapter a Day.